Li Ji-1 wiped the grease from her hands and stared at the broken pipe in front of her. The smell of recycled air and chemical cleaners filled her nostrils. She had been working in the maintenance bay of Station Epsilon 7 for 3 years now. 3 long years of fixing pipes, cleaning filters, and making sure the toilets worked for 3,000 alien beings who barely noticed she existed. She was 28 years old, and this was not the life she had imagined. Back on Earth, she had dreams of becoming a real engineer, maybe even a ship captain. She had applied to the Stellar Academy 3 times. 3 times they had rejected her. The test results always came back the same way. Inconclusive, equipment malfunction. Please try again. After the 3rd failure, Earth's government assigned her to this remote station in the outer rim of Federation space. G1 climbed down from the ladder and grabbed her toolbox. Her small quarters were in the lower decks, right next to the waste processing center. The sound of machinery never stopped. It hummed through the walls day and night. She shared a bathroom with 15 other workers. Most of them were human too. The Federation didn't trust humans with important jobs yet. The station was massive. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, a city floating in space. 47 different alien species lived and worked here. There were the tall Antarians with their blue skin and 4 arms. There were the crystalline beings who looked like walking diamonds and spoke in musical tones. There were the Merkur traders with their 8 eyes and friendly smiles. And then there were humans. Just 62 humans out of 3,000 residents. Captain Velroth ran the station. He was Antarian, and he made it very clear what he thought of humans. During G1's first day, he had looked down at her with all 4 of his arms crossed and said humans were lucky to be here at all. He said Earth had stumbled onto faster-than-light travel by accident, like children finding their parents' keys. The Federation only accepted humanity because the old laws required it. But that didn't mean they had to like it or trust it. G-1 had learned to keep her head down. She did her work and stayed quiet. She ate her meals in the human cafeteria and avoided the main dining halls where the other species gathered. She had one friend on the station. His name was Kang Tae-young. He worked in the same department, usually handling electrical repairs, while G1 dealt with plumbing and life support. Tae-young was older than her by 10 years. He had kind eyes and a quick smile. He had been on the station for 7 years. He told her once that he stopped counting the days after the first 1,000. He said it made life easier if you just accepted this was it. No promotions. No recognition. Just work until you were old enough to go back to Earth and retire. But G1 couldn't accept it. Not yet. She had applied for promotion 17 times in 3 years. Every time, the answer was the same. Position filled by more qualified candidate. She knew what that meant. It meant an alien had gotten the job. Humans weren't qualified. Not in the Federation's eyes. She made her way through the corridor toward the central hub. The walls here were clean and bright. This was where the important people worked. Scientists, officers, diplomats. The crystalline science officer, Krillath, passed her in the hall. He didn't even look at her. To him, she was invisible. Just another human maintenance worker. G1's communication device buzzed. It was Tae-young. He wanted to meet for lunch in 20 minutes. She smiled. At least she had one person who cared if she existed. The human cafeteria was small and cramped. The food was basic. Rice, vegetables, protein paste shaped to look like meat. It all tasted the same after a while. Tae-young was already there, sitting at their usual table in the corner. Another pipe? He asked as she sat down. Always another pipe, G1 replied. She picked at her food. Did you hear about the promotions? Tae-young nodded. I heard. They gave the engineering supervisor position to a merker. I applied for that job. We all did. Tae-Yang's voice was gentle. G1, you need to let it go. They're not going to promote humans to positions like that. Not for a long time. Maybe not in our lifetime. That's not fair. Fair doesn't exist out here. He leaned back in his chair. We're the new species. We have to prove ourselves. Maybe our grandchildren will get better treatment. G1 pushed her tray away. She wasn't hungry anymore. She thought about Earth, about her family, about the life she could have had if the Academy had accepted her. But there was no point in thinking about it. This was her reality now. The lights in the cafeteria flickered. It happened sometimes. The station was old, and systems broke down regularly. That's why they needed so many maintenance workers. The lights steadied after a moment. I should get back, G1 said. I have a filter replacement in Section 12. Be careful down there, Tae-Yang warned. I heard they detected some weird energy readings near the outer hall. Nothing serious, but you know how it is. Always something. G1 nodded and left the cafeteria. The corridors were busy with afternoon traffic. Aliens of every shape and size moved past her. Some floated. Some walked on multiple legs. Some seemed to phase in and out of visibility. The Federation was a strange and wonderful place. G1 just wished she could be a real part of it instead of cleaning up after everyone else. Section 12 was in the lower decks again. Her territory. The place where humans belonged, according to Captain Velroth. She took the elevator down, feeling the familiar drop in her stomach as it descended. The doors opened to darkness. Half the lights were out down here. She pulled out her flashlight and made her way to the filter station. The work was simple and mindless. Remove the old filter. Install the new one. Check the pressure. Log the maintenance in the system. She had done it 1,000 times. Her hands moved automatically while her mind wandered. She thought about the energy readings Tae-Yang had mentioned. Strange things happened in space all the time. Cosmic radiation, solar flares, dark matter fluctuations. The Federation had technology to handle all of it. Their ships could travel between stars in days. Their medical science could cure almost any disease. Their computers could calculate things that would take human supercomputers years to process. And yet they needed humans to clean their toilets. G1 finished the filter replacement and logged out. Her shift was almost over. Just 2 more hours, and she could go back to her quarters, eat dinner, and sleep. Tomorrow would be exactly the same. And the day after that. And the day after that. She didn't know that everything was about to change. She didn't know that in less than 12 hours, the entire galaxy would know her name. She didn't know that she was special after all. Right now, she was just Lee G1. Maintenance worker. Rejected, invisible, unremarkable, but not for much longer. The alarm woke G1 at 3 in the morning. It wasn't her personal alarm. It was the station emergency system. Red lights flashed in her quarters, and a voice repeated the same message over and over. All non-essential personnel report to designated safety zones. All non-essential personnel report to designated safety zones. G1 jumped out of bed and pulled on her uniform. Her hands shook as she tied her boots. She had been through drills before, but this felt different. The alarm had a different tone. More urgent. More real. She stepped into the corridor and found chaos. People were running in every direction. The Merker family from the next room rushed past her, carrying their children. A crystalline officer tried to direct traffic, but nobody was listening. Everyone was scared. G1 fought against the crowd and made her way to the maintenance bay. If this was a real emergency, they would need all hands working. She found Tae-Yang already there, along with 5 other human workers. They all looked as confused as she felt. What's happening? G1 asked. Taeyang pulled up a screen on his tablet. Some kind of energy phenomenon. Started about an hour ago. It's getting stronger. The screen showed a map of the station and the space around it. Purple waves pulsed from a point about 50 kilometers away. Each wave was getting bigger. Each wave was reaching closer to the station. What is it? Nobody knows. The science team can't identify it. Captain Velroth ordered evacuation ships. But they won't get here for 6 hours. 6 hours? G1 felt cold. Will the station last that long? Before Taeyang could answer, the entire station shook. The lights went out completely for 3 seconds before the emergency power kicked in. Somewhere far away, G1 heard metal groaning. That was never a good sound. Her communication device buzzed. It was an automated message. All maintenance workers report to your stations. Keep essential systems running. Do not abandon your posts. They're leaving us here, one of the other workers said. His voice was high with panic. They're evacuating everyone important and leaving us to keep the lights on while they run. He wasn't wrong. Through the window, G1 could see ships beginning to undock from the station. Small transport vessels carrying the scientists, the officers, the diplomats. The people who mattered. Another pulse hit the station. This one was stronger. G1 grabbed the table to keep from falling. The lights flickered again. An alarm started blaring from the reactor section. Taeyang's face went pale. That's the main reactor. Something's wrong with the main reactor. Where are the engineers? G1 asked. They evacuated 10 minutes ago. The crystalline engineering team was the first to leave. Then who's monitoring the reactor? Nobody answered. They all knew what that meant. Nobody was monitoring the reactor. If it went critical, if it melted down, the station would explode. And they would all die. G1 didn't think. She just moved. She grabbed her tool belt and ran toward the reactor section. Behind her, she heard Taeyang shouting her name. Then she heard his footsteps following her. The reactor section was in the deepest part of the station. The elevator wasn't working, so they had to take the emergency stairs. G1's legs burned as she climbed down level after level. Another pulse hit, and she almost fell. Taeyang caught her arm and kept her upright. They reached the reactor level and found it deserted. The control room was empty. Warning lights covered every screen. The temperature was rising. The containment field was failing. They had maybe 20 minutes before total meltdown. We need to get out of here, Taeyang said. G1, we can't stop this. We're not trained for this. Then everyone dies, G1 replied. She moved to the control panel and tried to make sense of the readings. She had studied reactor basics in training, but this was beyond her knowledge. The system was failing in ways she didn't understand. Another pulse hit. This one didn't just shake the station. G1 felt it inside her body, like someone had plucked a string that connected to her bones. She gasped and grabbed the console. Are you okay? Taeyang asked. I felt that, G1 said. The pulse. I felt it. We all felt it. No, I really felt it. Like it went through me? Taeyang looked at her strangely. Then his eyes went wide and he collapsed to the floor. His body was shaking. Through the window into the main reactor chamber, G1 saw 2 Antarian engineers who had stayed behind. They were on the floor too, convulsing. The next pulse came faster than before. This time G1 didn't just feel it. She saw it. Purple light filled the air like smoke. It moved in patterns. It had a rhythm. It was almost beautiful, and it didn't hurt her. While Taeyang writhed on the floor, while the Antarian engineers seized and foamed at the mouth, G1 stood perfectly still and watched the energy dance around her. She could see it flowing into the reactor. She could see it disrupting the containment field. She could see it building toward explosion. And somehow she understood it. Not with her mind, with something deeper. Something that didn't have words. G-1 ... Taeyang's voice was weak. He had pulled out his portable camera. His hands shook as he pointed it at her. I'm recording. If we die, someone should know what happened. G-1 barely heard him. She was walking toward the reactor chamber door. Her hand pressed against the scanner, and it opened. That shouldn't have worked. Only authorized engineers could open that door. But it opened for her. The reactor chamber was hell. Radiation levels were deadly. Temperature was high enough to melt steel. The purple energy pulsed and swirled like a living thing. G-1 stepped inside, and the door sealed behind her. She should have died instantly. The radiation alone should have killed her in seconds. But she felt fine. Better than fine. She felt awake for the first time in her life. The energy was everywhere. She could see it now, really see it. Not with her eyes, but with something else. Some sense she didn't know she had. It moved in waves and currents. It had texture and taste and sound. It was screaming. The energy was screaming because it was trapped, because it was being forced into patterns it didn't want to follow. G-1 raised her hands. She didn't plan to. Her body just moved. Her hands reached out toward the center of the reactor, where the energy was brightest and most angry ... and she touched it. The purple light flowed up her arms. It didn't burn. It felt warm and electric and alive. She could feel every pulse of it. She could feel its confusion and its pain. It didn't want to destroy anything. It was just lost. It's okay, G-1 whispered. I've got you. She began to move her hands. Not randomly. Following the pattern she could see. Following the rhythm only she could hear. The energy responded. It began to calm. It began to flow in new directions. Away from the reactor. Away from the station. Out into empty space where it could move freely. Outside the chamber, Taeyang's camera recorded everything. It recorded G-1 standing in lethal radiation without protection. It recorded her hands glowing with purple light. It recorded the energy moving around her, like water, like smoke, like something alive responding to her, while Dot recorded the moment when all the alarms stopped. The reactor stabilized. The temperature dropped. The containment field strengthened. The purple energy began to dissipate, spreading out into space in gentle waves instead of violent pulses. G-1 stood in the center of the chamber with her hands outstretched and her eyes closed. She looked peaceful. She looked powerful. She looked like someone who belonged exactly where she was. She opened her eyes and looked at the camera. At Taeyang. Her expression was confused, like she had just woken from a dream and couldn't remember where she was. The chamber door opened. G-1 walked out. She looked down at her hands. They weren't glowing anymore, but she could still feel the echo of that energy. Still feel that connection to something vast and incomprehensible. What did you do? Taeyang asked. He was sitting up now, no longer shaking. The pulse effects had stopped. I don't know, G-1 said honestly. I just knew what it needed. I could feel it. That's impossible. I know. They stood in silence. Around them, the station began to recover. Systems came back online. The emergency alarm stopped. Slowly, the lights returned to normal. Taeyang looked at his camera. At the recording he had just made. The whole galaxy needs to see this, he said quietly. No, G-1 said. Please, I just want to go back to normal. But it was too late. Tae-Yang had already uploaded the video to the station's emergency log. Standard procedure? All emergency events had to be documented. What neither of them realized was that the emergency log was automatically broadcast to Federation headquarters. And from there, it would spread everywhere. The video of an unremarkable human woman doing the impossible was about to change everything. The video spread like fire across the galaxy. Within 6 hours, every major news network had a copy. Within 12 hours, it had been viewed 3 billion times. By the time G1 woke up from an exhausted sleep, her face was on every screen in known space. She didn't learn about it right away. She was locked in the medical bay. Captain Velroth had ordered her quarantined immediately after the reactor incident. Not for her safety, he said. For everyone else's safety. She was an unknown threat. She needed to be contained until they understood what she was. P1 sat on the edge of the medical bed and stared at her hands. They looked normal. Just hands. Thin fingers, short nails, a small scar on her left thumb from a childhood accident. Nothing special. But she could still feel the echo of that energy. It hummed under her skin like a second heartbeat. The door opened, and Tae-Yang slipped inside. He wasn't supposed to be there, but the guards were overwhelmed with everything happening. Nobody was paying attention to one human visiting another. "You need to see this," he said. He pulled out his tablet and showed her the screen. One's own face stared back at her. The video was playing on a news channel. She watched herself walk into the reactor chamber, watched her hands glow, watched the energy dance around her like she was conducting an orchestra. The news anchor was talking, rapidly in Federation standard. G1's translator earpiece struggled to keep up. Words like unprecedented and dangerous and miracle flashed across the screen. "It's everywhere," Tae-Yang said quietly. "Every channel, every network, every planet in the Federation is talking about you. Why?" G1's voice was small. "I just stopped the reactor from exploding. That's all." "No." Tae-Yang shook his head. "You did something nobody has ever seen before. You controlled pure energy with your bare hands. You survived radiation that should have killed you instantly. The science team can't explain it. Nobody can explain it." He switched to another channel. This one showed a panel of crystalline scientists arguing with each other in high-pitched musical tones. The translator provided subtitles. One scientist claimed P1 must be using hidden technology. Another said that was impossible. A third suggested she might be a new species entirely, not really human at all. "They don't know what you are," Tae-Yang said. "I'm human," G1 insisted. "I'm just me." "Are you, though?" He looked at her carefully. "Can you still feel it? The energy?" G1 hesitated. Then she nodded. "Yes, it's still there. Like background music. I can hear it everywhere now. Can you control it?" "I don't know. I don't want to try." Before Tae-Yang could respond, the door burst open. Captain Velroth entered, followed by 6 armed guards. All Antarian. All carrying weapons pointed at G1. "Get away from her," Velroth ordered Tae-Yang. "She's not dangerous," Tae-Yang protested. "We don't know what she is? Move away or be removed." Tae-Yang looked at G1. She nodded. He stepped back reluctantly. Velroth approached the bed, but kept his distance. All 4 of his arms were tense. His blue skin had gone pale. He was afraid of her, G1 realized. Captain Velroth, who had treated her like dirt for 3 years, was afraid of her. "There are ships arriving," Velroth said. 12 Federation cruisers. 2 ancient observer vessels. 3 Earth military ships. Everyone wants you. I don't want them. What you want is irrelevant. You're a security threat. an unknown variable. The Council is demanding answers. I don't have answers, G1 said. I don't understand what happened any more than you do. Then you'll come with us and let the scientists figure it out. Is that an order? It's reality. G1 looked at her hands again. She wondered what would happen if she said no. If she refused, she could feel the energy all around her, in the walls, in the lights, in the electrical systems. It would be so easy to reach out and touch it, to make it do what she wanted. The thought terrified her. Was that who she was now? Someone who could make people obey through fear and power? I'll cooperate, she said quietly. But I need Taeyang with me. He's my friend. I trust him. Velroth considered this. Then he nodded once. Fine, but both of you will be monitored constantly. Over the next 3 days, G1 underwent more tests than she thought possible. Blood samples, brain scans, genetic analysis, energy field measurements. Dozens of scientists, from a dozen different species, poked and prodded and asked questions she couldn't answer. The lead scientist was a human woman named Park Hai-jin. She was older than G1, maybe 50, with sharp eyes and gentle hands. She had come from Earth specifically for this investigation. She was apparently famous in the scientific community, though G1 had never heard of her. You're not sick, Hai-jin told her after the 3rd day of tests. You're not infected with anything. You're not using technology. Your genetic code is completely normal human DNA. Then how did I do it? That's what I'm trying to understand. Hai-jin pulled up screens covered in data. When we scan you, we see something unusual. Your brain activity is normal. But there's something else, something we can't quite measure. It's like you're constantly connected to the energy fields around you. I can feel them, G1 admitted, all the time now. The electricity in the walls, the radiation from the reactor, even the energy in people's bodies. It's like music I can't turn off. Can you manipulate it? Control it? I think so. I haven't tried. Why not? Because I'm scared. G1 looked at her hands. What if I hurt someone? What if I can't control it and I break something important? Hai-jin sat down beside her. G1, I need you to understand something. This ability you have, it's not unique. What do you mean? We tested the other humans on the station. Taeyang, the cafeteria workers, the cargo handlers. All of them. And we found traces of the same thing in all of them. G1 stared at her. All of them can do what I did? No. Not at your level. But they all have latent ability. They're all connected to energy fields in ways we can't fully measure. It's just very weak in most people. In you, it's extraordinarily strong. But why? Why humans? Hai-jin smiled. That's the question, isn't it? I have a theory. Do you know why humans seem weak compared to other species? Because we are weak. We don't have armor, or claws, or telepathy. We're soft and slow and fragile. Exactly. And because we're weak, we developed something else. Imagination. Abstract thinking. The ability to see patterns and connections that don't exist physically. Every other species in the galaxy processes reality through biological filters evolved for their specific environments. But humans process reality through concepts and ideas. I don't understand. Our brains don't just see what's there. They see what could be there. We imagine things into existence. And somehow, that gives us the ability to perceive and manipulate the fundamental patterns of energy itself. Not through technology or biology, but through consciousness. G1's head spun. That sounds like magic. It's not magic. It's just a different way of interacting with physics. And you're the first human to consciously activate this ability. Why me? Because you were in extreme danger. Your unconscious mind activated defenses you didn't know you had. And now you can't turn them off. Before G1 could process this, Alarms started blaring again. Not on the station. On the ships outside. Through the medical bay window, she could see vessels maneuvering into combat positions. Tae-young burst through the door. There's a fleet approaching. Military vessels from the Korthan Empire. They're demanding you be turned over to them. The Korthan? Hai-Jin's face went pale. They're one of the most aggressive species in the Federation. If they get their hands on you, they'll try to weaponize your ability. I won't go with them, Go-Won said. You might not have a choice. They have 50 warships. We have 12 defenders. Through the window, Ji-won watched weapons charging. She saw Korthan fighters launching from their carriers. She saw Federation ships moving to intercept. They were going to start a war over her. People were going to die because she could do something she didn't understand and couldn't control. No, Ji-won said quietly. She stood up from the bed. No more. What are you doing? Hai-Jin asked. I'm done hiding. I'm done letting other people decide what happens to me. Ji-won walked to the window and pressed her hand against the glass. Outside, the first shots were being fired. She closed her eyes and reached out with that sense she couldn't name. She felt the ships, felt their engines and weapons and shields, felt the energy that powered them, felt the fear and anger of every being preparing for battle. And she whispered one word that echoed across every communication channel in the system. Stop. The word didn't come from speakers or communication devices. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Every being in the system heard it directly in their minds. Not as a voice, but as a feeling. An absolute certainty that violence would not be tolerated. Every weapon in the system stopped charging. Every targeting computer went offline. Every missile froze in its launch tube. 50 Korthan warships and 12 Federation defenders hung in space like toys suspended by invisible strings. G-1 stood at the window with her eyes closed and her hand pressed against the glass. She could feel all of them. Thousands of beings. Thousands of hearts beating. Thousands of minds filled with fear and confusion. She could feel their life energy, their consciousness, like stars in a dark sky. What did you do? Hai-Jin whispered. I asked them to stop, Ji-won said simply. Her eyes were still closed, and I made sure they could hear me. You're controlling their ships, all of them. No, not controlling, just preventing. They can still move. They can still think. They just can't hurt each other. On the command deck of the Korthan flagship, Admiral Throck slammed all 6 of his fists against his console. His weapons were dead. His shields were offline. Even his communication systems were disrupted. His crew stared at their screens in disbelief. What is this? He roared. What kind of technology is this? His science officer spoke in a trembling voice. Sir, it's not technology. It's her, the human. She's doing this somehow. Throck pulled up the video everyone in the galaxy had seen. The small human woman standing in the reactor chamber. Her hands glowing, energy bending around her like water. He had watched it a dozen times. He had convinced himself it must be a trick. Some kind of special effects. Humans were weak. Everyone knew that. But this was no trick. This was real. A single human had disabled his entire fleet with a thought. Open a channel to the station, he ordered. Direct channel to the human. On station Epsilon 7, every screen lit up at once. Throke's face appeared. His features twisted with barely controlled rage and fear. Human, he said in heavily accented Federation standard. I am Admiral Throck of the Korthan Empire. You will release my ships immediately, or we will consider this an act of war. Ji-won opened her eyes and looked at the screen. The fear that had controlled her life for so long was gone. She wasn't afraid of admirals or empires anymore. She had touched something vast and powerful. She had felt the energy that held the universe together. Compared to that, what was an admiral? No, she said calmly. Throke's face darkened. You dare refuse me? I dare many things now. You came here to take me by force, to use me as a weapon. I won't allow that. Your weapons are disabled. Your shields are down, but I haven't hurt anyone. I could have destroyed your entire fleet. I didn't. Think about that before you threaten me again. You are one being. We are millions. You cannot hold us forever. I don't need to hold you forever. Just long enough for you to understand that humanity is not weak. We're different. And difference is not weakness. She released her hold on the Korthan ships. Their weapons came back online, their shields activated. For a moment, everyone held their breath. Would Thrak attack again? The Admiral stared at G1 through the screen. Then slowly, deliberately, he powered down his weapons. The Korthan Empire withdraws from this system. But this is not finished, human. The galaxy will not forget what you have done here. His ships turned and jumped to faster-than-light travel. In seconds, they were gone. G1's legs gave out. She collapsed to the floor. Tae-Yang caught her before she hit her head. Her body shook with exhaustion. Using her ability on that scale had drained something essential from her. Get her to a bed, Hygiene ordered. Now. They carried G1 back to the medical bay. She drifted in and out of consciousness. In her dreams, she saw patterns of energy stretching across the universe. She saw the connections between all things. She saw the music that held reality together. She woke up 18 hours later. Her body ached like she had run a marathon, but her mind was clear, clearer than it had ever been. Hyjin was sitting beside her bed, reading data on a tablet. When she saw G1 was awake, she smiled. Welcome back. You scared us. Did I hurt anyone? No, you didn't hurt anyone. But you did make quite an impression. The Federation Council has been in emergency session for the last 12 hours. They're arguing about what to do about you, about humanity. What do they want? Some want to quarantine Earth, keep humans isolated until we understand your abilities better. Some want to conscript humans into military service. Some want to study you like lab animals. And some, the smarter ones, want to work with humanity as equals. Guy 1 sat up slowly. What about Earth? What does Earth want? Earth wants you home. The government has been very clear about that. You're a human citizen, and they want you protected. I don't want to go back to Earth. Not yet. Hyjin looked surprised. Why not? Because I need to understand what I am, what I can do, and I need to help other humans learn to use their abilities safely. G1 looked at her hands. When I touched that energy in the reactor, I saw something. I saw that every human has this potential. We just don't know how to access it. If the galaxy is going to accept us, we need to show them we can control this, that we're not a threat. That's going to take time. And we better start now. Over the next week, G1 worked with Hyjin and other scientists to understand her abilities. They discovered that she could see energy patterns in ways that instruments couldn't measure. She could identify problems in systems before they failed. She could sense when someone was sick by seeing disruptions in their bioelectric field. But more importantly, she could teach. When she focused, she could help other humans sense what she sensed. The ability was weak in most people, but it was there. Tae-Yang learned to feel electrical currents. A cafeteria worker learned to sense heat distribution. A cargo handler learned to detect structural weaknesses in metal. Each human had their own way of connecting to energy. Each human had their own unique sensitivity. G1 wasn't the only one with power. She was just the first to wake up. The news spread across Earth. Humans everywhere began trying to sense energy fields. Most couldn't, but some could. A child in Seoul could sense when electronics were about to fail. A doctor in Lagos could feel disease in her patients before tests showed any symptoms. A farmer in Brazil could sense the health of his crops by touching the soil. Humanity was changing, evolving, or maybe just remembering something they had always been capable of, but never needed. The Federation Council finally made their decision. They would grant Earth full membership in the Federation. Humans would be given equal rights and protections. But in return, Earth had to establish an academy to teach humans how to safely control their abilities. To make sure this power wasn't abused, G1 was offered the position of headmaster for this new academy. She refused. "I'm not a teacher," she told the council representatives. "I'm a maintenance worker. That's what I'm good at. That's what I understand." "But you're the most powerful human we've ever encountered," one representative argued. "Power doesn't make me qualified to teach. Give the position to Hygiene. She understands the science. She can build the right curriculum. She can train the teachers. Then what will you do?" G1 smiled. "I'm going back to Station Epsilon 7. They still need someone to fix the pipes." The representatives thought she was joking. She WSN single quotes T. Captain Valroth was shocked when G1 requested her old job back. "You could have any position you want. Any position in the entire Federation. Why would you want to work maintenance?" "Because someone has to do it," G1 said simply. "And because I was good at it, I still am. The other workers will treat you differently now. They'll be afraid of you. Maybe at first. But they'll get used to me. People always do." Velroth studied her for a long moment. Then he did something G1 never expected. He smiled. "You're either the wisest human I've ever met, or the strangest. I'm not sure which. Can I have my job back or not?" "Yes, but I'm doubling your pay and giving you access to any department you want to work in. No more just lower decks. I like the lower decks." "Of course you do." G1 returned to Station Epsilon 7 1 month after the reactor incident. The station looked the same, but everything felt different. People recognized her now. They stepped aside when she walked through corridors. They asked for autographs. They wanted to take pictures with her. She hated all of it. She just wanted to be normal again, but normal was impossible now. She had changed the galaxy, changed humanity's place in it, changed what people thought was possible, all because she had been in the right place at the right time. Or maybe the wrong place at the wrong time. She still wasn't sure which. What she did know was that she was still G1. Still the same person who had failed the Stellar Academy 3 times. Still the same person who fixed pipes and cleaned filters. Being special hadn't changed who she was. It had just revealed who she had always been. 1 year later, G1 was back in the maintenance bay of Station Epsilon 7. She wore the same uniform. She used the same tools. She fixed the same problems she had always fixed. But everything was different now. The station had changed. More humans worked here now. 62 had become 300. The Federation Council had decided that human workers should be distributed throughout their systems. To learn, to integrate, and maybe, quietly, to provide security through their unique abilities. Most of these new humans couldn't do what G1 could do. Their abilities were subtle. Sensing temperature changes, feeling electrical currents, detecting stress in metal before it cracked. Small things, useful things, but nothing that looked like magic. G1 was grateful for that. She didn't want to be alone in this anymore. She knelt beside a water filtration unit and opened the access panel. The system was making a strange noise. Not broken yet, but getting there. She placed her hand on the metal housing and closed her eyes. Immediately, she could feel the problem. A bearing was wearing down. It would fail completely in about 3 days if not replaced. She marked it in her work log and ordered the replacement part. Simple, routine. Exactly what she wanted. Excuse me? G1 looked up. A young Antarian stood in the doorway. She was small for her species, barely 2 meters tall. She wore the uniform of a junior engineer. Her 4 hands twisted together nervously. "Can I help you?" G1 asked. "I'm Velra. I just transferred here from the science station. I wanted to meet you." She spoke quickly, her words tumbling over each other. "I saw the video. Everyone saw the video. You saved the station. You stopped the war. You changed everything." G1 stood and wiped her hands on her coveralls. "I just did what needed to be done. Same as anyone would. But you're not just anyone. You're special." "No," G1 said gently. "I'm just someone who was in the right place at the right time. Or the wrong place. I'm still not sure." Velra looked confused. "You could be running the Federation Council if you wanted. You could be a general or an admiral. Why are you here fixing filters?" "Because filters need fixing. And I'm good at it." G1 picked up her toolbox. "Did you need something specific? Or did you just want to stare at the famous human?" Velra's blue skin darkened with embarrassment. "I'm sorry. That was rude of me. I just wanted to understand. My people treated humans poorly. We thought you were weak and simple. We were wrong. I wanted to apologize." G1 softened. "You don't need to apologize. You personally didn't do anything wrong. But my people did. Captain Velroth told me how he treated human workers before. He's ashamed of it now. Is he?" G1 smiled. "That's something. Tell you what. You what? If you want to understand humans, stop seeing us as special or weak. Just see us as people. We're not better than anyone else. We're just different. Different how? We think different. We see patterns where you see solid reality. We imagine possibilities where you see facts. That's not better or worse. It's just different. And every species has their own difference. That's what makes the Federation work. When we appreciate each other instead of fearing each other." Velra considered this. "You're very wise." "No, I'm really not. I just fix pipes." G1 checked her work schedule. "I have to replace a coolant line in Section 18. Want to help? I can show you how human maintenance techniques differ from Antarian ones." The young engineer brightened. "Yes, I would like that very much." They worked together for the next 3 hours. G1 taught Velra how humans approached mechanical problems through intuition and pattern recognition. Velra taught G1 about Antarian precision and systematic analysis. By the end, they had not only fixed the coolant line, but improved its efficiency by 15%. "You're a good teacher," Velra said as they cleaned up. "Maybe, but I'm a better mechanic." They parted ways and G1 continued her rounds. The afternoon passed in comfortable routine. Broken seals, clogged filters, faulty sensors. The same problems that had filled her days for years. The same solutions. The same satisfaction of making things work again. She was heading back to her quarters when her communication device buzzed. It was Tae-Young. He wanted to meet in the observation lounge. G1 found him standing by the large window that overlooked the station's docking bay. Ships came and went constantly. Transports, cargo haulers, personal vessels. A constant flow of traffic from dozens of worlds. "You wanted to see me?" G1 asked. Tae-Young didn't turn around. "Do you ever regret it?" "Regret what?" "Not taking one of those positions they offered you. The council seat, the admiral rank, the research directorship. You could have had anything. You chose to fix toilets. I don't fix toilets anymore. I got promoted to fluid systems. That includes toilets, but it's not the same thing. Taeyang finally looked at her. I'm serious. Don't you wonder what your life would be like if you had chosen differently? Ji-won joined him at the window. Sometimes. But then I remember why I made the choice I made. I didn't want power. I didn't want fame. I wanted to be useful. And I'm useful here. You could be useful anywhere. Yes, but here, I know I'm making a real difference. When I fix a filter, people have clean water. When I repair a life support system, people can breathe. It's simple, direct. I can see the results of my work. That matters to me. Earth thinks you're wasting your potential. Earth doesn't get to decide what I do with my potential. I do. Ji-won smiled. Besides, I'm helping in other ways. Every week I spend a few hours teaching other humans how to sense energy, how to use their abilities safely. That's important too. Have you gotten any stronger? Can you do more now than you could a year ago? Ji-won considered the question carefully. Yes and no. I understand my abilities better. I have more control, but I'm also more aware of the limits. What I did at the reactor, stopping those ships, those were desperate moments. High stress, high stakes. I can't just casually throw around that kind of power. It takes everything I have. That's probably good. The galaxy is still nervous about what humans can do. Let them be nervous. As long as they respect us, I don't care if they're nervous. They stood in silence for a while, watching ships dock and depart. Finally, Taeyang spoke again. I got promoted. Chief of Electrical Systems. They want me to oversee all power distribution for the station. Taeyang, that's wonderful. Ji-won hugged him. You deserve it. You've worked here for years. You know these systems better than anyone. I couldn't have done it without you. Without what you did. They're treating humans differently now, giving us opportunities we never had before. You would have gotten there eventually. Maybe, maybe not. He pulled away and looked at her seriously. What you did changed things for all of us. Not just on this station, everywhere. Humans have respect now. We're not just maintenance workers and cargo handlers anymore. We're engineers, scientists, officers, because you showed the galaxy what we're capable of. I just did what I had to do. You keep saying that, but it's not true. You chose to act. You chose to stand up. You chose to be brave. That's not nothing, Ji-won. That's everything. Ji-won felt tears starting in her eyes. She wiped them away quickly. Stop making me emotional. I have work to finish. Taeyang laughed. Always work with you. Go on. Go fix something. Ji-won left the observation lounge and returned to the maintenance bay. The day shift was ending. Night shift would take over soon. But there was one more job on her list. A minor repair in the human quarters. Faulty heating unit. She made her way through the familiar corridors. The lights were dimming for night cycle. Most people were heading to dinner or their quarters. The station settled into its evening rhythm. The heating unit was in the quarters of one of the new human workers. A young man named Kim Dae-ho, who worked in the cargo bay. He wasn't there when Ji-won arrived. His quarters were small and neat. A picture of Earth on the wall. A few personal items on a shelf. Nothing fancy. G-1 opened the heating unit and immediately saw the problem. Loose connection. 5-minute fix. She made the repair and tested the system. Warm air flowed immediately. She closed the unit and stood to leave. But then she paused. There was something else. She could feel it. A faint disturbance in the energy field. Not dangerous. Just unusual. She closed her eyes and focused. There, in the wall, behind the heating unit, a pocket of cold. colder than it should be. Not from mechanical failure. From something else. G-1 opened her eyes and pulled the heating unit away from the wall. Behind it was a small crack in the hull. Barely visible. But it was there. A micrometeorite strike, probably. Sealed automatically by the station's emergency systems, but not properly repaired. If left alone, that crack would grow. In a few months, it might become a breach. Air would leak out. People could die. She marked the location in her work log and noted it as high priority. Then she filed a repair request with the engineering team. By tomorrow, a proper crew would seal it permanently. Crisis averted. Disaster prevented. Lives saved. And nobody would ever know. That was fine with G1. She didn't need recognition. She didn't need fame. She just needed to know that she had done her job well. That she had made people safer. That she had been useful. She closed up the heating unit and left the quarters. The corridor was empty now. Night cycle had fully begun. The lights were low. The station hummed its familiar song. G1 walked slowly back to her own quarters. She thought about the past year, about everything that had changed and everything that had stayed the same. She was still the same person who had failed the Stellar Academy 3 times. Still the same person who preferred simple work over complex politics. Still the same person who found satisfaction in fixing broken things. But now she knew something she hadn't known before. Being unremarkable wasn't a weakness. It was a choice. She could have been famous. She could have been powerful. She could have been important. She chose to be useful instead, and maybe that was the most remarkable thing of all. In her quarters, G1 changed out of her work uniform. She ate a simple dinner. She read for an hour, then prepared for bed. Tomorrow would be another day of maintenance work. Filters and pipes and electrical systems. The same routine she had followed for years. She wouldn't change it for anything. As she drifted off to sleep, she could feel the energy of the station all around her. Thousands of beings living and working together. Dozens of species. Hundreds of systems. All functioning because people like her kept them running. She had saved the station once by doing the impossible. Now she saved it every day by doing the ordinary. And in the end, that was what mattered most. Being special wasn't about power or fame. It was about showing up, doing the work, caring about the details that nobody else noticed. G-1 had always been special. The galaxy just needed to learn how to see it, but she had known all along. You didn't need extraordinary abilities to be extraordinary. You just needed to care about what you did and do it well. The rest was just noise, and G1 had never liked noise anyway.